The morning Francis Israel mounted his motorbike would be the last time his friends saw him smile. No one in Agadama Ekpetiama could have guessed that one ordinary trip, paid for with just 3,000 naira, would end in a story that still haunts the community years later. The sun had just begun to rise over Agadama Ekpetiama, spilling gold across the sky. The village was waking slowly. Children fetched water, women lit fires, and the distant sound of church bells echoed. Francis crouched beside his motorbike, polishing the fuel tank with a rag. To him, the bike was more than just a machine. It was his daily bread, his dream, his pride. Two of his friends leaned on a wooden kiosk, teasing him as they watched. "Francis, are you sure you will come back today?" Alex asked. Francis smiled as he tightened his helmet. "I always come back. This is just a short trip. Daniel Sunday has already paid me 3,000 naira. 3,000 is good," Peter said, shaking his head. "But that Sagbama Road, it's not safe. If night catches you there, trouble will come." Francis waved him off, laughing. "Don't worry about that. I will return before dark." They watched him mount the bike. The engine roared, and dust rose as Francis sped off. The laughter of his friends followed him down the road, mixed with a faint unease they could not explain. The ride toward Sagbama was long and winding. The tall grasses on either side swayed gently in the breeze, while scattered palm trees stretched into the sky. Behind Francis sat his two passengers, Daniel Sunday, a familiar face, and Perry Adamokam, a man Francis did not know well. At first, the journey was filled with casual talk. Daniel asked about the bike, Perry nodded quietly. But soon the laughter died, replaced with whispers between the two men. "Make sure he does not suspect anything," Daniel muttered under his breath. Perry's response was low, almost swallowed by the wind. "He trusts you. That's why this will work. But when the time comes, we must be sharp." Francis did not hear them. He focused on the road, humming softly, unaware that betrayal sat just inches behind him. By afternoon, they reached Sagbama main town. The streets were alive. Women sold fish, men pushed wheelbarrows, children played with sticks and stones. Francis slowed his bike and stretched his arms. "We have reached Sagbama. I hope the ride has been smooth." Daniel smiled faintly. "Francis, please do us one small favor. Take us to Angalabiri. It's not too far." Francis checked his watch. Time was moving quickly. His friend's warning about nightfall whispered in his mind. But he shrugged it off. "All right," he said. "Just a short ride more." Perry's lips curved in a way Francis did not notice. That single yes carried him further into danger. The path between Toru-Orua and Angalabiri was quieter, narrower, and darker with each bend. The sun had started its slow descent, bathing the road in orange light. Francis noticed how silent his passengers had become. The laughter of Sagbama marketplace was long behind them. "Daniel, is this the place?" Francis asked. Daniel's voice was low, almost. Perry's eyes shifted from the road to the bush, then back to Daniel. Their silence weighed heavily on Francis's back. As dusk deepened, Daniel suddenly tapped Francis's shoulder. "Stop here," he said firmly. Francis frowned, slowing the bike. "Here, but this place." Before he could finish, Daniel stepped in front of the bike. His hand swung sharply, striking Francis across the head. Francis staggered, confusion clouding his eyes. "Why, Daniel, why?" Perry grabbed him, holding him down. Daniel's face was hard, his silence louder than words. The bike's engine sputtered to a stop. The road, once filled with the hum of life, became deadly quiet. Francis gasped, struggling to free himself. His trust, his confidence, everything broke in that moment. "Daniel, I took you as a brother," he cried weakly. But betrayal does not hear reason. In the fading light, his cries dissolved into the thick bush. The night swallowed his voice. Back in Agadama Ekpetiama, the evening was calm. Francis's friends sat outside their compound, expecting to see him ride back as usual. But hours passed. Darkness spread. The sound of his engine never came. Alex paced restlessly. This is not like Francis. He always comes back before night. Peter dialed his phone. The line rang, then went dead. Again and again. Something was wrong. They felt it deep in their bones. In his small, dimly lit room, Francis's father sat waiting. His heart beat with unease he could not explain. "He should be back," he murmured. "Where is my son?" That night was long. The oil lamp burned low, shadows stretched on the walls, and still no sound of Francis's bike. Sleep never came. The next morning, Francis's friends gathered with his father. Together they began searching. They asked along the road, at shops, at Sagbama Market. Some had seen Francis pass, others could only shrug. But no one had seen him return. His absence hung heavy over the village like a storm cloud. On the 18th of August, Francis's father walked into Bielsa State Police headquarters, his voice trembling. "My son, he has been missing for 2 days. Please, help us. We fear something bad has happened." The officer on duty listened, nodding. "We will begin looking. Do you know who he was last with?" "Yes," the father said firmly. "He was with Daniel Sunday." The name was recorded. The search began. Back in Agadama Ekpetiama, whispers filled the air. Daniel Sunday was the last person with Francis, Alex told others. "Where is Daniel now?" another villager asked. The community watched closely. Eyes turned whenever Daniel appeared. On the 19th of August, Daniel walked into the community. His steps were steady, but his eyes shifted uneasily. Immediately, Francis's friends surrounded him. "Daniel, where is Francis? You were with him last," Alex shouted. Daniel raised his hands. "I left him near Angalabiri. After that, I do not know where he went." Francis's father's eyes burned with grief. "You're lying. My son is not careless. Where is he?" The crowd pressed closer, suspicion heavy in the air. Daniel tried to remain calm, but his voice faltered under questioning. His answers changed slightly each time. "He dropped us at Sagbama." "No, he carried us further." "I don't remember clearly." The villagers exchanged looks. The truth does not stumble the way his words did. That night, Daniel could not sleep. His mind replayed the moment on the lonely road, Francis's cry echoing in his head. "It was only for money," he whispered to himself. "I didn't mean for it to be like this." But guilt has its own voice, and it never goes silent. Under pressure, Daniel finally spoke in hushed tones to his father and a close relative. Tears filled his eyes as he confessed. "It was supposed to be quick. Only for money. Perry pushed me. I didn't mean for it to go so far." His father's face fell. The truth was heavier than stone. Word spread quickly. Soon, the police entered the community. "Daniel Sunday, you are under arrest," the officer declared. The crowd watched silently as Daniel was handcuffed. His eyes were red, his head bowed. Justice had taken its first step. While Daniel was held, Perry disappeared. His name spread across villages, his face whispered about in markets. But shadows cannot hide forever. The hunt had begun. Far away, a Hausa mechanic polished a bike he had just bought cheaply. It was sold fast, he told a friend. Only 50,000. But the man seemed nervous. When the police later traced the bike, the pieces of the puzzle began to join. Francis's father sat quietly in his compound, the weight of grief pressing down on him. My son worked hard, only to meet betrayal, he whispered, tears falling freely. The village mourned with him, each heart heavy with loss. Francis's mother could not speak. Her silence was louder than any cry. She sat by the doorway, her eyes empty, staring at the road where her son once rode home each night. Her silence broke hearts. Alex and Peter replayed their last conversation again and again. He promised us, Peter said quietly. He said he would return before dark. Now the memory cut deeper than any knife. When Daniel stood before the law, the story unfolded piece by piece. The whispers, the lies, the betrayal, all were laid bare. The community watched, waiting for justice. Though Daniel had confessed, the whereabouts of Perry remained uncertain. The search continued, spreading beyond Bielsa. Justice was not yet complete. The pain brought Agadama Ekpetiama together. They supported Francis's family, carried their burden, and swore never to forget. Evil had entered their midst, but unity kept them strong. Months later, the community gathered for a memorial. Candles were lit, prayers were said, and tears fell quietly. Francis's father stood before them, voice breaking. We lost a son, we lost a brother, but his life will not be forgotten. Let this be a warning to all, that trust is precious, and betrayal destroys. The villagers bowed their heads. The sound of a motorbike in the distance echoed faintly, like a memory refusing to die. Francis's last ride had ended, but his story would live on.